Good evening all and welcome to Introduction to Course Outcomes Part 1 of this MBA presentation series. Let me share the screen and then we'll begin with today's session. I hope screen is visible. Is somebody
Yes,
please?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So let us begin with today's session, Introduction to Course Outcomes. The outline of presentation is what are course outcomes and how to write course outcomes. So very brief outline, and today we will focus only on the first aspect, that is what are course outcomes. After this slide, actually we should have put the outcomes, but we have deliberately chosen not to put the slide on the outcomes. So at the outset, we'd like to make it clear that today's this presentation is focused only on the what are course outcomes or meaning of course outcomes. So question is, what is the meaning of course outcomes? To understand the meaning of course outcomes, we must understand the meaning of two terms. One is a course and other one is outcomes. We all know that the course is a particular subject in a given curriculum. That can be any other thing, but we are not again going into that aspect which is beyond curriculum. So we still would like to adhere with the general terminology in this case. So course is a subject given in subject in a given curriculum. The subject may be theory, subject may be practical, subject may be tutorial, subject may be mini project, subject may be your main project or major project. So that is a course. Now the question still remains, what is outcome? Or here at this stage, if you would like to define course outcome, so it can be easily defined as it is nothing but the outcome at the end of the course. That course may be this theory, practical, tutorial, whatever may be on given consideration. So now let us try to understand the meaning of outcomes. So once we understand outcomes and we already know the meaning of course, then we can have a combined definition for this course outcomes. But once again here, to understand what is the meaning of outcome, we must understand the difference between output and outcomes. Okay, so sometimes we do interchangeably use these two terms, but there is a subtle difference between output and outcomes. So we must uncover that difference so that we will have a clear idea about course outcomes. So again here we need to understand what is output. So if somebody asks what is output, one of the simplest definition we can make is whenever there is an input or whenever you apply input, you get an output. So that's a very simple definition. To get output, you need to have certain kind of inputs. Inputs can be anything. So let us try to understand with some examples. I have noted down some typical examples. Mumbai rains because the monsoon is going on. And many times we hear, we even witness, we experience, and there is a news that Mumbai mein jhamajam barish ho gayi, and some of the areas or locations, they are now declared as a national monuments in particularly during monsoon season in Mumbai, like Hind Mata or Milan Subway. So वहाँ पे मुंबई की झमाझम बारिश के बाद मिलन सबवे हिंद माता यहाँ पे वाटर लॉगिंग हो गई. So then we say that's output. Rain, heavy to heavy rain was there, and that's why there is a water logging. Another example that principal sir shared a notice and requested all faculty to attend MBA presentation. So yesterday we all attended one session. Today also we are attending one session. So there was input or there is input. This notice is input, and the output is the session is going on, and almost 80-85 faculty are attending this session. This is again output. Another example is you go and watch a movie. You decide. This example, somewhat difficult example in today's perspective, because almost 1.5 years I don't think any of us have got that opportunity to watch movie. For very few time the movie theaters were open. But still, we can discuss this example. You go and watch movie with our past experience. So going and watching movie again, that is output. Now at this juncture, how can I define output? So I can easily define output as output is something which is visible, output is something which is obtained, output is something which is calculated, derived, obtained, discovered. So whatever may be the case, so output can be defined in that way, which is visible, obtained, calculated, derived. But still our real question remains as it is: what is outcome, or is there any difference? And if there is a difference, what is the difference between output and outcomes? Now again, to answer that question, what is actually outcome, we need to answer one more question: that is mere output a good indicator? You know that whenever there will be input, there will be output. But can we describe the things with just output? Can it be a good indicator, a mere output? Does it indicate intended or expected? Now take an example of that movie watching. So what kind of information we get? That yes, people decided or we decide and we watch a movie, but does it reflect that we wanted to watch an action movie and the movie was action movie, and yes, we were happy, or there was a heavy rainfall but the water logging was prevented, reduced? It does not reflect that information which is expected, which is intended. It just describes that situation, that event. So somehow it lacks that description, somehow it lacks the intention, somehow it lacks the expectation. That's the one of the drawback of the output. Now, there are certain drawbacks which are associated with this input-output based model. So many of us may recall that some years back NBA also was using this input-output based model, and then there was a gradual migration from input-output based to this outcome-based education model. Now here again, I would like to give one more example why output is not a good measure of reflection, or it's not a good description. Because now sometimes suppose somebody asks or somebody gives a choice, what kind of quality life do you expect for yourself? Do you expect good quality life, better quality life, or best quality life? So ideal answer would be everyone would desire that best quality of life. Nobody will say if you are giving option, or if there is an option in my life, why should I pick up some option which is inferior when the better option is available? So everyone would desire that I need a best quality life. If somebody asks that would you like to prefer to go a best restaurant or just a good restaurant or a medical restaurant? Again, everyone would desire that if we have a choice, we would always be inclined to choose the best possible choice. But here also, at this place, somebody will argue that how can we decide a best for one person is best for other person? Again, that is an interesting question, because whatever best I feel for myself obviously may not be the best for other person. Then how do we solve this puzzle? That we are saying that output lacks in describing what we intend, what we want, and it's not a good indicator. And then outcome may possibly feel that, and the reason is that the best choice is not reflected in output. But then if the best is varying, then how can we bridge out this gap? The reason is very simple. Again, I would like to give one example. मुझे अगर टेलीविजन परचेस करना है, so naturally my choice will be to buy or purchase the best quality television. But when I say best quality television, I know my constraint, I know my limitations, I know my challenges as per as budget or some other things. So I decide the one of the best as per as my requirement, as per as my other constraint, and then I say that I need a particular channel which will satisfy my needs, and then I will go there. So at least now in this case, I say that whatever the result, that result will at least, or if that result will satisfy my expectation, my requirement, then I say it's okay. But somehow the result is not indicating. So take the previous example. When I say, then I'm just saying that I decided to watch a movie and I watch a movie. So when I say I watch a movie, it is not reflecting what type of view I wanted, what type of experience I wanted, and whether I achieved or not. So that reflection is not possible in just an output statement. And that's why we need a better expression, better communication. And that better communication, better expression is nothing but outcomes. But still we are not, again, we have not come to the actual or appropriate definition of the outcome. So here, the reason behind this migration to outcome-based model is that somehow it was lagging this communication. And once there is a miscommunication or there is a lagging of communication, naturally it has a number of effects. And that's why there was a shift in education technology going from input-output to outcome-based education model. Okay, now we will try to understand with some more example the real difference between the output and outcome. First example, 5 plus 3, output is 8. But somebody is teaching, let's say assume that somebody is teaching someone the addition, the basic operation before us is addition. And someone is trying to teach and someone is trying to learn. The output is just addition of two numbers. But what does it indicate? What does it reflect? It does not reflect whether the learning is good or learning is best in the given situation or not, or whether the teaching is best in the given situation or not. Because just mere addition will not be an expectation of any person. So what would be the expectation? That if you are teaching addition and if somebody is learning addition, then whatever may be numbers, 2 numbers, 3 numbers, 4 numbers, irrespective of digits, if you learn addition, then you must be able to add numbers. So now this is just reflecting one output which is obtained, which is derived, which is calculated, which is visible. If I say no, before that I say no. If I am teaching addition and if somebody is learning or I am learning addition, so I must say at the end of the teaching or at the end of the learning, a person should be, or I or whatever, that person should be able to add any numbers irrespective of the numbers, irrespective of the digits. And if this is possible, then say yes, what we wanted, what we intended, that we achieved. So that is the thing. So output, if we go with output, then that's not possible because intention is not known. If intention is not known, then it will not be communicated. If it is not communicated, how can we expect the other person, in that case the learner whom you are teaching, to execute what you intend? Because if you intend, if you want execution from the other person or even from yourself, you must first have that message. You must first have communication. Still, it may not be clear, so we'll move to the another example. Next example is turn on AC. So AC, air conditioner, you turn on AC and the simplest output is, because irrespective of whatever AC, it must start the cooling. But then again, cooling is just an output. So suppose I want to install a AC, let's say. So if I go and purchase randomly AC, so that will reflect in that output that yes, the room will cool down. But what should happen there if I want a best output? Now best output is, best result is at least, now it may not be best in that sense because best is a relative, but at least as per my requirement, as per my expectation, as per my intention, if I'm getting, then at least I say yes, it is best. Nobody is a perfect, no life is a perfect, but at least what I want in my life, if I'm able to get it, then I say yes, I am happy. If I am not getting, then somehow then I am disturbed. So at least that. So when I have given a choice to purchase a AC, then at least if I have this information that there are a number of ACs, different types of ACs like window AC, split AC, inverter AC, and now smart ACs, number of ACs are there. And then I should have some other information that what is my room size, what is the star rating, what is power conservation, what is this inverter concept. At least some idea, some concept I may be knowing. So then I can find out which AC would actually fit my need, or which AC would actually be a correct choice. Imagine that if I don't have this information, then I will have again random choice, and somewhere it may increase my electricity bill. Or suppose जैसे classroom जैसा जो हमारे कॉलेज में classroom जितना space है, और वहाँ पे if I install in that area, if I install just 1 ton AC, तो cooling का भी कोई meaning नहीं रहेगा. So if I want a best output, best result, Again, the same thing should happen there, that first I have to express what is my intention, what is my expectation. And if I and to get it, I must have basic knowledge, basic understanding. So if that is there, then I can go with that. Take another example, similar example, turn on geyser. Okay, same situation, geyser, everyone knows that geyser का काम है पानी गर्म करना. Again, there are different types of geysers, instant geyser, storage geysers. You need to make a decision. How do you make a decision that which geyser is suitable? Again, if you want that, so you must have your intention, you must have your requirements. So in a city like Mumbai, you know that there are so many difficulties, traveling difficulties. You are dependent on so many factors. So you hear the obvious choice would be instant geyser. But in a city like Nagpur, Pune, some city where that may not be the concern, and the family size might be bigger, you may go with the storage geyser. But if this information is not there, if this intention is not made, then what will happen? You may buy geyser, it will satisfy the basic need, but somehow it will not up to your best expectation, or it will not satisfy most visibly. So that's the problem. So output will not reflect what actually it should be there. Another example. Okay, we'll discuss number of examples so that this concept should be clear. Join a fitness club. Again, this is a very common thing in today's perspective. Okay, somebody joins a fitness club. So output is okay, fitness one batch starts. But if you want a better result, or if you want a best result, you have to do? You have to set a target. What is your purpose? What is your objective in joining that fitness club? You want to reduce weight, you want to increase your weight, you want a cardio, you want other things. If this is not known, if this is not intended, and without that you just merely do that exercise, then output would be there, but that output would not satisfy, output would not fulfill the requirements. So here we are saying that there are so many issues if the output is not, or that expectation, intention is not understood. Take another example, insurance, term insurance. And this is a very critical area. Now, many people, they buy insurance, they buy policies, and after some years they realize that whatever insurance policies they bought some years back, that is not good, they are not good policies. Many times the information is not known in which order one should buy insurance, whether it should be first term insurance and then mediclaim, and then your, if need is there, endowment policies. So what is that? So you are not knowing, people are not knowing, and then they do such type of decisions, and then after some years the decisions reflect that something is problematic, or some mistakes happen, and you cannot reverse those things. So the first and the foremost thing is, we must be sure about what shall be the outcome. So when I'm purchasing a term insurance, let's say, what shall be the outcome? I must know what is the purpose of the term insurance. What will happen if I'm not there? So what is my liability? What is my responsibility? My financial position? Based on that, if I plan, then it would be a correct decision. Otherwise, I may have a very wrong impression that I have term insurance, it will satisfy the needs of my family after my death. But maybe that is a wrong assumption, because I have not done proper exercise of doing or obtaining these outcomes. So outcomes न पता होने से I may go in a wrong direction, and the result would come where I cannot reverse the result, and if reversing is possible, it will have a huge cost. After 10 years, after 15 years, somebody says this is a wrong policy and I opted for 35 years, 30 years. Now you just come out of that policy, surrender value is so meager, then even going or even making that reverse decision, again that would be problematic thing. So these are a number of issues where the root cause is same, because outcomes have not been determined. Only we just concentrate on output कि ये output होना चाहिए, but mere output is unable to reflect the situation there. Then another example is financial planning. This is again a very critical example in today's time. And many of us they struggle with this financial planning, or some people, not maybe it may not be many of us, but some people at least. So a good planner will always start, or good planning will always start with the at least basic knowledge, basic information that there are four asset classes: is real estate, gold, equity, which consists of your mutual fund shares, and your debt fund. Suppose I do not have this information and I do not know that there cannot be any other fifth option where I can have investment or I can grow my money, and I just randomly am doing that exercise. And other person who is knowing this, who is setting the targets, and if after 5 years, if after 10 years, if you notice these two persons, one is doing this random exercise or not doing this exercise at all because information is not there. Other person has identified what shall be outcome, financial outcome after 2 years, after 3 years, 5 years, based on the risk and based on the other priorities. And you see the result in both cases. One is tremendously successful in his or her financial asset because he or she has identified outcomes, and once those outcomes are identified, he can actually execute those things. Because before I can execute something, I must have planning. But to have a plan, I must have basic understanding that yes, this thing I should do. Then and then planning. So there is a cycle which is always advocated in this outcome-based education. That is a PDCA cycle: plan, do, check, act. That applies to many of the things in life. And the last example is information to attend this session. So I just told you 5 minutes back that the notice was served by principal sir that the sessions would happen there, and you are attending. So attending is just an output. But what should be the outcome? If at the end of this session, if I say the participants, the faculty who are attending, if they will be in a position to understand what is the meaning of course outcome, what is the difference between course objective and course outcome, then yes. So then we say yes, this is our intention. Otherwise, if this intention is not known, so it's just a session. If at the end of this sessions, if somebody say yes, the faculty now are in position or shall be able to apply Bloom's taxonomy while framing their course outcome, so that is the outcome. Now you are reflecting what is intended, you are reflecting what result you desire, what result you want. If you do not express, if you do not communicate, then you will have output, but output will not be a best output. So if we want best output, best result, then it must be expressed in the form of outcome. Now let us define what is this. And before defining, let us try to understand with some basic examples of outcomes, or how now we can express here the output statements into outcomes. Learner shall be able to add numbers. जो हमने वहां पे देखा कि एक दो एडिशन करके सिर्फ रिजल्ट दिख रहा, लेकिन we say that if you are teaching, if somebody is learning addition, then learner shall be able to add numbers, shall be able to choose AC as per requirements. Best AC कोई भी हो सकता है, लेकिन is that my requirement? अगर मेरा रूम 10x10 का है, why should I buy 210 AC? मैं based on my requirement, based on my need, I should be able to choose or appropriate AC. So that will be possible if that intention is clear. Shall be able to differentiate between geysers, shall be able to prepare hot water as per weather conditions, shall be able to reduce weight, shall be able to gain weight. Okay. So faculty shall be able to explain meaning of course outcomes. This may be expected outcome. We have deliberately chosen not to write a slide there because here we wanted to emphasize on this particular term. अगर मैंने वो टर्म वहाँ पे शुरुआत में आउटलाइन के साथ दे दिया तो शायद वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा फोकस वहाँ पे शिफ्ट हो सकता है. That's why we are deliberately chosen not to put the outcome slide before that. Otherwise, a presentation or any activity, it is not a course. Now, though we are discussing today about the course, but any activity where result is there, if that result is expressed in terms of outcomes, then there is a more probability to get a best result. So faculty shall be able to write course outcomes for their subjects. That is the intention of this NBA presentation exercise. Yesterday, Sonia madam gave us an excellent presentation on Bloom's taxonomy, because Bloom's taxonomy we have to extensively use in framing our course outcomes. We are writing course outcomes here since long back, but we may improvise, we may revisit those things, and wherever possible we can change our strategy, or we can frame better statements. So that's the intention, that's the expected outcome of this entire presentation series. So shall be able to map course outcomes with Bloom's level. So these are some of the examples of the outcome statements. So here now we can define simply outcome as intended and a planned result. So output is just a result. Output is a result. It may be visible, it may be obtained, derived, calculated, discovered, found. But outcome is, though it is output, but it is intended and planned. So it's not now a random thing that I will go and purchase AC. I will go and purchase a mobile phone. Before purchasing, I will decide what shall be the outcome when I buy a mobile phone. What is my need? What are my expectations? What is my usage? Based on that, if I purchase a mobile phone, then that will solve my problem. Otherwise, my problem is something different, and I have a solution which is not matching. So then that's not a good solution. So outcome can be defined as, now it is intended and a planned result. So it's not just a mere intention will not fulfill what I want. If I want the best result, then I have to first intend. But without intention, nothing will happen. So once you intend, then you have to plan. So outcome can be defined as intended and a planned result. Another way to describe outcome is, it is a performance measurement of the output, because it's output. Because output is a result, so outcome is also result. But now you have control. Because in just when you are reflecting an input output, you were not having a control on the output. But here now you can have control. But to control, you have to intend, you have to plan, you have to organize, you have to execute, and then check. So that's why that PDCA cycle. So now here I can make a performance measurement of the output. So when I join a fitness club or any gym or any such type of thing, so I must have my target that in a month, in a 2 months, or in a 3 months, I should reduce my weight, or I should get these results. So now I will measure the performance, if I'm getting or not. If I'm not getting, then what are the problems? I will work on that. But if I don't have targets, if I don't have intention, so that means output would be there, and the output may not be as per my wish, as per my need. So that's why I must express in terms of outcome with any activity. So outcome can also be defined as, so it is what? It is defined as its ability to know and do. So there are two actions. The first action is, it provides an ability to know. The first thing is information. So to know and then do. So know, at least you should have information, and then choosing correct things, and then take action on all those things. So yesterday madam also talked that there are 3 levels of learning. We will also try to cover on those things, the knowledge process, or how to know the things again. So that's a learning cycle we'll try to understand. So outcome, I repeat, it's an intended and a planned result. Then it is a performance measurement of the output, where you can set output, you can set a target, and then you can measure the performance. So it's basically ability to know and do. So here our focus in course outcomes is all about learning outcomes. So for a number of examples we have taken, choosing AC, or purchasing a television, that may be a different exercise. But generic meaning so far we try to understand. Now we focus to a very specific meaning of the outcomes, that is a learning outcomes. So there are 3 categories of learning outcomes, and those 3 categories are knowledge, skills, attitude. It might be any kind of learning. If you want to learn, or any person wants to learn, and anything, it might be swimming, it might be driving, it might be music, it might be painting, it might be subject, it might be anything. The learning outcome, that means the intended result or the final result, or the ability will reflect in these three classes only. One is a knowledge, other one is skill, and other one is attitude. So knowledge is basically cognitive level, skill is your psychomotor level, and attitude is your affective, or these are also called as a domain. Cognitive domain, which is related with the mental process or intellectual process. Skills is basically initiation, psychomotor, some kind of physical activity is expected, or some kind of, not exactly a physical activity, but some kind of initiation activity is expected in the skills. And another domain is the affective domain, where attitude, and this is one of the difficult thing to achieve through the subjects, because attitude domain affective domain is related with your value, emotions, and as a human, one of the difficult thing is these emotions, because emotions are relative. So here also through a subjects, to try to achieve or try to map those things, they are very, very difficult. We'll see that in the section when we'll try to understand how to write course outcomes. But as discussed in the beginning, that this today's session is focused only on understanding or getting the meaning of what is the meaning of course outcomes and why are they important, why teachers should have more and more emphasis on writing better course outcomes or statements of the course outcomes. How will be covered in the next section. So learning outcomes, we know that learning outcomes can be knowledge, skill, and attitude. So just as I told that if you ask any financial authority or a financial expert, or if you refer any financial literature, you will find that there cannot be any fifth asset class apart from your real estate, gold, equity, and debt fund. So similarly, it might be any learning. Learning cannot be possible in any fourth domain. There are only three domains. One is knowledge, other one is skill, and other one is your attitude. So we can now make a very specific definition course outcome, because we know the definition of outcome. Outcome is intended result. Okay, intended result or a planned result, and we know that result, and we are talking about the course outcome. Course outcome, course means subject. Subject means students are learning, so students are learners. So these are results, or these are from the point of view of the student. So when we say we are writing a course outcome, so naturally the result from the student, not from the teacher. So now we can make this definition very specific, that it is the intended knowledge at the end of the course, because ultimately it will be knowledge, skills, and attitude, and it must be intended. Without intention, it cannot be outcome. Then it will be a random output. But we do not want that random output. We want a stronger process where we should get at least best possible, at least near to that best possible the result. We need ideally we need best, but if perfection is not possible, so at least near to that best. So that's why intention is very necessary. Intention means at least what you desire, that should be expressed. So intended knowledge at the end of the course, intended skills at the end of the course, and intended attitude at the end of the course. Now somehow the definition is very simple. Course outcome is this intended knowledge, skills, and attitude at the end of the course. Or in other words, we can express this is a course outcomes describe or explain that what students shall be able to know or do at the end of the course. So it might be theory subject, it might be practical subject, it might be tutorial subject, it might be mini project, it might be final project or major project. So when we say course outcomes, so course outcomes will describe that whatever that subject, what students shall be able to know. At least the first thing is to know what students shall be able to know. So what information, what knowledge, okay, the students will gain, or what skills students will acquire, or what attitude students will develop, and how students will apply this knowledge, skills, and attitude at the end of the course. Or what with this knowledge, we obviously will expect that students should do something. If somebody is just gaining the knowledge, somebody is acquiring skills, somebody is developing attitude, but they are not used somewhere, or there is no utility, then somebody will ask, what is the use of that thing? So obviously, so now course outcome is what student shall be able to know or do at the end of the course. So again, we can reframe this. So course outcome is students shall be able to apply and integrate knowledge, skills, and attitude gained, acquired, and developed through course with other discipline and other spheres of life. This is very important. And that is the core purpose of the education. Education is not limited to one subject or one discipline. So we always, and then that's the core expectation of the education, that you gain knowledge, acquire skills, or develop attitude, and you use that to make your life better as well as the society or human civilization better. That is the core meaning of education. So now here we can decide, we can define or reframe course outcome as students shall be able to apply and integrate. Apply. The first thing is application. Application of knowledge, skills, and attitude develop, gain, or acquired in that course. So course might be anything. So course might be your theory subjects, practical subject. At least you will expect that, and the nature of the subject will say कि किसी subject में theoretical knowledge रहेगा, किसी subject में skills के ऊपर रहेगा, और कुछ जो management related subjects है या environment related subjects है वहाँ पे attitude की तरफ थोड़ा सा उसमें हो सकता है या किसी दूसरे activities में हो सकता है. But the first thing is students need to apply और उसके बाद integrate that the knowledge, skills, and attitude with some other disciplines. So multi-disciplines, interdisciplines, as well as with the other spheres of life. So if I'm gaining something in one subject, let me correlate with some of the other areas of the life, and that's the purpose of the life. So that is one definition of the course outcome, we can say. So in other words, we can also write that course outcomes, when we just now concentrate on this term, course outcomes. So they are basically destination for students. So your course starts, that is the start point, and the course end, course complete, that is the destination. So course outcomes, because we say that they are intended result, intended knowledge, intended skill. So but when will we be in a position to find out or assess or evaluate what we decided, what we intended, whether those things are achieved by students or not? That will be possible at the end of the course. That will be a continuous process, but final judgment or final interpretation is possible at the end of the course. So that's why we say, since that final assessment will be done at the end, so that's why course outcomes are destination for students. So as a teacher, we want something our students should gain, some knowledge students should gain, some skill students should acquire, some attitude students should develop. So that will be our aspect, that will be our focus when we are teaching one subject to the student. So we say, this is your destination. We want all the students to reach this destination safely, effectively, efficiently. So course outcomes are destination for the students. Now to understand again the meaning of this thing, we must just ponder some thought on this. So we are all in this profession, we understand this relationship teacher and students. So we know that this relationship and many relationships, when it is based on the trust, so this relationship is also based on the trust. So here ideally the concept is that, ideally the situation is that the students rely trust on the teacher, and the teacher in that position will frame the journey of the student as far as that course is subject. So what is the job, what is the duty of the teacher? Yes, I am going to start a journey of a student for a particular subject, and I am saying that when I am starting that journey, I must communicate students that this will be your destination, because that destination cannot be devised or cannot be written by a student or cannot be identified, because he is in our previous examples, when I'm choosing AC television, so there is no learner. Now in this relationship, one is a learner and other one is a guide, other one is a mentor, other one is a teacher. Now there is a difference. When you are intending for yourself, that will be a different exercise. But here, when learner is there and you are supposed to focus or you want to expect a best quality learning or best learning experience, so this relationship is based on the trust. So teacher in that sense will frame this journey. So that means curriculum. But in our case, since we are from Tier 2, so that curriculum or syllabus, we get it from the university. But usually then you are setting a journey, you have to set and the student is starting his journey from the beginning of the course, and the destination is course outcome. So naturally the teacher has to design what type of vehicles would be used. So that means what type of curriculum delivery, what type of assessment to find out whether we are going in the right direction or not. So this is all responsibility of the teacher. Executor is a learner, but to plan this journey, to make this intention very clear, is the responsibility of the teacher. So the job of the teacher is to plan, design, translate what teacher wants or what that subject demands. And the most important is to communicate, because the entire focus of this outcome is communication. And we find that the people whom we regard as successful, there is one common characteristics among those people, and that they are very good communicators. So this is possible that one teacher is a very good teacher and he wants best thing, but somehow he does not communicate in that sense, or he lacks that communication. And if he lacks the communication, he may have good intention, he may have good other skills, but since he does not communicate in that sense, how it will reach to the students? And if it does not reach to the students, how can that teacher will expect that students will actually execute? Because executors are students, but to execute in an efficient manner, it has to be communicated. And before communication, it must be intended, it must be planned, it must be designed, it must be translated. But at this juncture, the teacher should take a responsibility to communicate. So when you write a outcome statement, so all these factors, they come into framing of good outcome statements. Our planning, our design, our translation, our understanding of subject, and the most important, the articulating our expectation in that communication. So communicate, then execute, and then teacher should assess, assure. All those are the responsibilities, or we can say the teacher can devise that thing. Then and then we can say yes, the exercise would be a successful exercise, because before that the probability would be doubtful. So now, why is this entire concept of course outcome is important? So we'll try to understand from this aspect. एक aspect था कि ये तो relationship ही trust के ऊपर है. So suppose I do not translate, I do not communicate, and I do not get result. So sometimes it may happen that कि students would say कि जो because unless I do it, I cannot expect a good result, or there would be lesser probability that the good result or best result will come that way. And after some time, if they say that no, if we have been focused, if we have been understood that yes, this is an expected thing, we would have worked in a different way. And this happens in any relationship. Many times the problem in the relationship, they occur not because of any disastrous situation done by one person to other person. You can take this example. When there is a good relationship, and then after some time, if there is a problem in that relationship, then it is not at all, or in very few cases, it is due to some certain disastrous activity. Many times the problem happens due to communication, and that's why communication is very important. And communication is nothing but writing this course outcome. So when we say course outcome, it is nothing but the way we teacher write, we communicate our intention, our expected results to the students. Unless and until it is communicated, we cannot expect. And another importance of the COs is, if COs are written, the first step is if they are written in an efficient manner, or in an effective manner, or in an appropriate manner, then they will reach to the student. So, and if the CO achievement is better, or attainment is better, because through CO you will achieve program outcomes. Because what is program outcome? Outcome is intended result, or intended result, and that is also learning result. And learning result can be only knowledge, skills, attitude. So whether it is course outcome, program specific outcome, that is nothing but intended knowledge, intended skills, intended attitude. Only difference is at the end of the course. So course, one course, second course, third course in one semester, then second semester, third semester. At the end of the program, that means at the end of the 4th year, and PSO, so that is a discipline specific. So if CO are better attend, so then there is a greater probability that PO and PSO are attend better. So if PO, PSO are better, that means the students' learning experience is good, their quality is good. So naturally, the college would find or department would find is in achieving the program educational objective. If POs are better, that means the mission which is taken or mission statement of the college or mission of the college would be fulfilled in much better. If the mission is better, then the vision, that is the actual or the ultimate goal of any college or any department, that would be fulfilled. So ultimate journey is there. We want our college or department want their dream to be fulfilled. But how can they fulfill? They start their journey with the writing vision, then mission, then PO, PSO, CO. So this way, this is a planning, and in execution or in assessment, the reverse journey. If COs are better, POs are better, PSOs are better, PO better, mission better, vision better. If COs are inferior, POs would be inferior, PSO would be inferior, PO will be inferior, mission would be inferior, and it will take much complex time to complete the vision. That's the core of the course outcome, or that is the importance of the course outcomes. Now, next question is how many COs, but today we'll only limit our discussion to the meaning of the course outcomes. But this one question is always there: how many COs to write for a course? 6 is a great choice. Why 6 and how to write? We will try to cover in next section. Okay, so how to write course outcomes will be continued in next session, most probably tomorrow, and may be possible if it's not completed tomorrow, day after tomorrow also. So this exercise will be continued. So today our aim or intention or expected outcome expected was that at the end of this we should be able to know what are course outcomes. So here only know, not do is something when we will understand how to write. In that case, we'll use that do aspect. Here our aspect is to know what are course outcomes, what is the difference between outcome and output. Okay, there is one more thing here I would like to make it clear, and then I will conclude. There is always a very confusing aspect about the course outcomes and a course objective. Okay, many people they use those words again exchangeably, but there is a difference. Course objective is basically faculty centered or teacher centric, whereas course outcomes obviously they are the student centric or learner centric. So when I set a course objective, that means I am putting statements what I want. So I would like to expose, I would like to introduce. So in that way, so I'm not there trying to measure the expected outcome of the student. I'm just trying to put objective or purpose of that subject. Yes, I want to introduce this, I want to expose this, I want to make a discussion. So that way is a course objective. So here I stop and I stop sharing.